Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you're a pre-med or pre-dental student, you definitely know that feeling, right? Staring down this absolute mountain of test prep. It can be incredibly daunting. But honestly, that's exactly why we're here today. I am so thrilled to have you with us because in this Explainer, we're going to completely demystify one of the most notoriously tricky sections of your entire admissions journey. Yep, we are talking about mastering the UCAT Verbal Reasoning section. By the time we wrap up here, you aren't just going to understand this test, you're going to have a highly structured roadmap for absolutely conquering it. So get focused and let's get started.
Okay, let's dive into this. Why is the UCAT Verbal Reasoning section so universally feared? I mean, this isn't just about simple reading comprehension. It's an entirely different beast. You're faced with these long, incredibly dense texts packed with complex jargon, and you have to synthesize all of it under immense, really unforgiving time pressure. For most students, it actually feels less like a reading test and more like a sprint through a maze blindfolded. You barely have seconds to process massive blocks of information before you need to answer highly specific questions. It's tough, it's exhausting, but, and here's the best part, it is entirely beatable once you actually understand the underlying mechanics of what the exam is testing.
Section 1. A step-by-step strategy for beating the clock.
Right, so this four-step method, it kind of flips your natural instincts completely upside down. Think about it, most of us were taught in school to read the passage super carefully, and then look at the questions. Well, toss that out the window. Step 1 is to always read the question first. Why? Because the question is your mission briefing. It sets your exact parameters before you ever even glance at that overwhelming wall of text. Step 2 is to identify your key words within that question. These are your targets, specific nouns, dates, or really unique phrases. Step 3 is where you take those targets and aggressively scan the text for them. You aren't reading here, you are hunting. And finally, step 4, once you spot your key word in the wild, you stop, analyze the immediate context right around it, and find your answer. This logical progression completely neutralizes the length of the passage simply because you're only ever looking for exactly what you need.
And this brilliantly illustrates the trap most students fall into, the slow reading approach. Trying to absorb every single minute detail of a multi-paragraph essay about, say, 18th century agricultural reform, it completely drains your time and overloads your working memory. Instead, what you absolutely need is optimized keyword scanning. This approach is sharp, it's direct, and it's incredibly efficient. It treats the text not like a novel you're sitting down to enjoy, but as a database to be queried. By shifting your mindset from a reader to a data extractor, you literally buy yourself precious seconds on every single question. And trust me, those seconds add up to a massively improved score.
Section 2. Actionable tips and examples. Let's put this theory into practice.
Imagine your actual exam interface for a second. Let's guide your eyes exactly how they should be moving on test day. You start right at the bottom with the question, what was the main cause of the decline? Boom, keyword identified, main cause. Now, let your eyes jump up to the passage snippet. We're scanning, and there. We see primarily due to. Now, primarily due to is totally synonymous with main cause. And what immediately follows it? Habitat loss. There's your answer. See that? You didn't need to read the whole paragraph. You didn't need to understand the biological intricacies of the species. You just executed a targeted strike. Question, keyword, scan, context, answer. It is incredibly satisfying once you actually get into the rhythm of it.
So, the crucial takeaway here is that while the scanning strategy is your engine, these actionable tips are your steering wheel. First tip, flag and move on. Listen, if a question is taking you longer than 30 seconds to decode, flag it. Do not let your ego destroy your pacing. Second, watch out for extreme modifiers, words like always, never, or impossible. In the UCAT, reality is rarely that black and white, so an extreme modifier in an answer choice is almost always a trap. Third, beware of double negatives. They are literally put there specifically to scramble your brain under stress. Phrases like not uncommon or hardly unlikely force you to do these mental gymnastics when you can least afford it. So slow down just for a split second when you see them to ensure you don't accidentally invert the meaning. And lastly, strictly limit your time per question. Having the sheer discipline to walk away from a hard question ensures you actually have the time to snag those easy points later on in the section.
Section 3. Mastering it with Applaa, the ultimate practice tool.
1. That's the number, because you really don't need 5 different heavy textbooks, 3 separate online courses, and a giant stack of flashcards to get this right. There is just one essential app you need to consolidate every single strategy we've talked about today. When you're already dealing with cognitive overload from studying, simplifying your tool set is an absolute game changer. And here is exactly what that one tool does for you. First off, realistic mock exams. You need to practice this scanning technique under the exact interface and time pressure of the real thing to build up your stamina. Second, targeted strategy reinforcement. The app actually helps drill that question first, scan second methodology we just walked through. Third, it has an extensive verbal reasoning question bank, so you are never going to run out of fresh texts to hunt through. And finally, tailored performance tracking. Now this one is huge. The app identifies your specific weak points. Like maybe you're great at finding keywords, but you always fall for those extreme modifier traps. It pinpoints that exactly, so you can study smarter, not harder, focusing your precious prep time right where it yields the biggest score increases. It just seamlessly aligns with our entire step-by-step framework.
So the next step is completely in your hands. Download Applaa today and master your UCAT. But before we go, I want to leave you with a final, kind of provocative thought. What if the UCAT isn't actually a test of your raw intelligence at all, but simply a test of your adaptability and your strategy? If you treat it like a giant puzzle, and you equip yourself with the right methodical techniques and the perfect tools to practice them, the entire test transforms from a massive obstacle into a really great opportunity. Put these steps into action, download the app to get your reps in, and go crush that exam. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep learning.